Hi everybody, here I am in St Andrew's Church and I'm stood here this morning by the font, this beautiful font that we have in church, of course the place where for most of us our journey with God, our Christian journey begins at baptism. In the waters of baptism we begin that journey. But it's made me think of something the other day when I was thinking about life in God and faith in Christ, that in my last parish, in Harbury, we had a font, of course, in the church there, but it was octagonal. It was 8-sided. Beautiful font, like this one, but with 8 sides. And somebody once pointed out to me, because I was always curious why it had 8 sides to it. And then somebody pointed out to me, each of those sides represents a day of the week. And then I frowned and I thought, well, hang on, we only have 7 days in the week. We don't have 8. And then someone said, that's exactly the point. We are reminded by the 8 sides of this font that actually God gives us an 8th day, if you like. He gives us more than we deserve. He gives us an 8th day. A bit like the psalmist who says, my cup runs over in Psalm 23. It pours over, it overflows. So is the grace and the abundance of God. And then, of course, as the words of Jesus remind us, that I have come that you may have life and have it abundantly. That's John 10. Verse 10, abundant life, an 8th day he gives us, more than we deserve, more than we can ever imagine. And that reminded me of a story which is very familiar to us all, and that is the story from Matthew chapter 14, which is the story of the feeding of the 5,000. It's a familiar story, we know it all so well. But that story begins with distress. It is just before the feeding of the 5,000 that Jesus and the disciples go away for retreat. They want to go away, and Jesus wants them to go away into a solitary place because they've just heard about the murder of John the Baptist, Jesus' cousin, and Jesus takes his disciples away from the crowds, away from the people. And so there's a lot of stress around, there's a lot of anxiety around for the disciples. And when they get to that solitary place, they don't get the rest and the retreat that they want. They are suddenly hemmed in, it says, by crowds who look for them and find them. And they're hemmed in. And we pick up, don't we, from that passage that the disciples, I think, are stressed and anxious, but they're grumpy and they're niggly and they're tetchy. And that's what anxiety does. And what do? Well, they make a command of Jesus. And I can't think of any other places in the New Testament where the disciples actually make a command of Jesus. They say to Jesus, send them away, so that they can find food for themselves. That's what worry and anxiety does to us. It makes us grumpy and it makes us tetchy. It's not our problem. They can sort things out for themselves. Worry makes us bossy. And I know there's a lot of stress still around for many of you. There's a lot of stress around for the country and for us all at the moment as we continue to go through this pandemic. But Jesus, well, what does he do? Well, he says to them, well, you give them something to eat. You give those people something to eat. And you can imagine the disciples then thinking, what can we do? We haven't got anything. Let's have a look at what we've got. And they look through and they find they have 5 loaves and just 2 fish. They have 7 things. And they look and they think that's all we have. And it's telling that in verse 17 of Matthew 14, that word only comes out. We only have 7 things, 5 loaves, 2 fish. That's all we have. That's all we have. Only have that. Their resources are pitiful. They have nothing to offer. It's all too much for us. We are absolutely shot here. And there's nothing we can do about all these people. There's nothing more we can give. We've had it, Jesus. We've only got these 7 things. And I wonder if Jesus thought to himself, actually, you've got an 8th thing here. You've got an 8th thing. And that 8th thing is me. I'm the one who opens the doors for those who knock. The one who you will find when you seek. Right next to the disciples. staring them in the face, is the solution to all their problems, and they don't see it. They just focus on their pitiful resources, what little they have, and their stress, and their anxiety, and their grumpiness. You may feel similar ways at the moment. I often do. Grumpy and tetchy. And it's born out of worry. Of course it is. None of us know where we're still going to be this Christmas time and beyond. And the lockdown has done strange things to us as it's kept us away from church. And this second lockdown, again, away from church. And we can be very stressed, and understandably so. But if you feel like this, just remember that God gives you an 8th day. God gives us all more of his abundance and of his grace and of his blessing, if only we just open our eyes and see it and lean on it and draw on the resource of Jesus himself. And if you feel today that I'm shot, I've got nothing, I'm fed up to the back teeth, I'm stressed, I'm worried, I'm anxious, and it's just all driving me to despair, then don't just count to 7. Don't just count to 7 today, but count to 8. Lean on Jesus. Go to him with everything. And remember that all of you and me are in good hands. God bless you today, and may you know the full grace of God which is there for you as you lean on him.